Alrighty. Let's
Get ready.
find new places to hunt in this town.
Woohoo!
Do they have good
Here comes-
barbecue there, like in mine?
Where?
In your Riverside. My Riverside has great brisket.
Listen, this is the Midwest, pal. Like people think we have some good barbecue places. We've got a couple okay barbecue places, but we don't have Texas barbecue places. And I know
Yeah.
this because my wife is from Texas, and I hear about it all the time. We have good barbecue when she makes barbecue. I'll tell you that.
You get barbecued Sasquatch.
No,
I find that offensive, ma'am.
we are not going to eat him.
Okay. Steve Van Sampson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smith, oh my god, what is it? Holy shit!
Yeah, that's me trapped in a box.
It's a Raspy
Better
doll!
Ken.
Yeah, it's the pop culture fat guy Barbie edition.
So much better than Ken. He at least knows how to write a good story.
Yeah, and I come with my own pound of weed.
Kung Fu.
Fun fact
Your
about my
pound of
action
weed?
figure. Yeah, a whole pound of weed,
Kung
and
Fu.
it's stuffed in the box. You can't. It's behind me. It's like one of those things where you take the action figure out, and they've got all these accessories behind them in the package. There's a whole trash bag full of weed back there.
Hey, Tom
Yeah.
Dog. Well, hey, everybody. Thank Cthulhu. It is Sunday. Welcome to the All Light Society Network, where we are doing another Clutch of Personalities. And we have Raz T. Slasher hanging out with
Yay!
us.
With my apparently
he's
50 bottles of Mountain Dew in the background that I'm just now seeing. Yeah.
He is on the show tonight as a guest instead of his usual.
Which is so weird because I did this with Jenny the other day too, and then the book thing that we did for the anthology, the book release, like it's so weird to be like interviewed by you guys, but also like you give me the best interviews ever because you know me and you know what to ask, but you also have seen every interview I've ever done, so you also know what people don't usually ask me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I gotta
you
prepare
can
myself
probably
going
tell
in.
my interview was ADHD based.
I love
we
that.
went everywhere.
I feel like I need
And,
a fancy background.
So tonight, guys, we are talking about Raz's latest release. It is Silence is Crimson Homecoming, the second in his Silence is Crimson series. And as you can see at the bottom, we're going to be giving out some merch. So please make sure that you comment in the comments. That you say something in the comments. Ask him a question. Tell him hi. You know, talk about the book a little bit because we'll be getting some copies of the book out, as well as a chance to be a character in a Raz T. Slasher story.
Indeed. I want to talk about that cover for a minute. I'm in love with that fucking cover. Like, I love the first one, obviously, that Patty did for me, but this one was like an hour-long conversation her and I just had, pitching ideas back and forth. And the whole premise of this is there's a lot of sewer drain pipes like this around Riverside, like, that are actually like this, that you can crawl into. They're weird. And not even like the normal amounts of them, or even in any places that sometimes even makes sense for them to be. But part of Riverside and a lot of Dayton, there's another city underneath. It happened with the whole Great Flood of the 1920s, which is themed in a lot of the stuff that I write, was the Sounds of Crimson series and some other stories. So I really wanted to do the tunnel because the Creature and Ryker spend a lot of time walking through tunnels similar to this and the actual sewer system and underground city. So it was really important to kind of have that coming out into the town. And Riverside really is a small town. Like, some of it is like wooded like this, some of it is industrial. Then there's like schools but it's all right next to Ripat Air Force Base, which makes the whole thing even fucking just stranger than it needs to be. So to me, this was like the picture from Ryker and the Creature's point of view of them leaving the tunnels, going to the city with the blood rushing out. So I wanted it to be from their point of view rather than the view, the reader's point of view. It just felt like a really cool like switch in perspective.
I think it looks really good.
That rock.
I like it.
Thank you.
And before we get into the book, I want to say real quick, since we saw Tom on here. Hi, Tom. And if you guys want to catch Tom, he is part of the Owlite Network. He also has his own show and his own network, Brill Pro, as you can see in his comments. And you can catch him easily on YouTube, is where I generally go to catch his show. But he does later night shows and does some taste test comparisons. He does a lot of pop culture reviews, wrestling show, if you're into the wrestling and stuff. And really good fun, really good friend of ours, part of the family. Go check him out.
I call
He
it
has a great
sometimes.
TikTok.
Yeah, Brill Pro After Dark is what I call it sometimes, because I usually watch him a lot. Honestly, I watch him a lot. And this last show he did, holy shit, brother! Like how your channel still exists, I don't know, but it was an amazing show, and I was dying over it. I was laughing so hard, I was in tears. One point in time, I'm pretty sure some Mountain Dew came out of my nose, like, and just hit my screen. At one point, I was laughing so hard, and I was messaging Del the whole time, like, "Oh my god, are you listening to this right now?" I was dying, man. That was hilarious.
I had a rough night and wasn't able to hop on, but it was like Channel X has gone like Channel Triple X.
Yeah. Holy shit, brother. We got a kick out of it.
So, yeah, go check out Tom. He's awesome. And my fridge is dying, so I'm just letting y'all know that now. If I complain about milk turning into yogurt again,
I can't even do your refrigerator is running joke, and it makes me sad.
It's running. It's just not running well. It's like me. It got too fat. It's getting tired.
No, but you can't let the poor guy out, because he's dead. The guy in the refrigerator, he's dead.
Yeah. The dresser people need to fix that. Maybe that. And I can't find the gnome again.
You just got that gnome back from the dresser people. They've already taken it?
Yeah, on my birthday, I got my gnome back from the dresser people, folks. And he's a little rough. He's a little worse for the wear wherever he... Hi, Cameron. Welcome.
Cameron is Ziggy, my eyeball guy that you guys have seen in the haunt videos. One of my freaks.
You're terrifying.
He is, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay, that's like one of those... kind of jump and then cringe.
And think about this. We had the blackout night on Friday. All they had was a glow stick to guide them, and we moved him. It was like a chaos thing, so we moved everybody around. He was in the decontamination area of Main Street. So you're going through tarps and fog and weird shit, and then suddenly you're just on him. With the glow stick, that's all you can see. It was... People about shit themselves like when they saw him the other night.
What's that thing with people when you're scared of things with like a lot of holes in them, like sponges freak them out and stuff? Because it has that effect.
Oh, I know that word. Trypophobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has that definite effect on it. Oh, Tom.
You would have gotten canceled, buddy.
I was still doing my show on cable access. Like the episode I did this past Thursday. Yeah, I brought up. I'm like, he has been canceled on cable access before.
Oh yeah, that would have been a third cancellation.
None of that on Owlite.
I'm sorry if I mute a lot and like I cover my face. I've been like bad sick since the second weekend of haunt season, and it's just not gone away. I've taken like 5 different over-the-counter things to completion. I've done everything, and I'm just still like so sick all the time. But I will mute so I don't blow any eardrums out.
I'm just like, excuse me while I dig around for something. I just got the sneezes and stuff last night. So when I was out running errands today, I got pack allergy medication and all this stuff. So I'm like,
I've done decongestion, cough and cold, flu. I've done cough drop. I've done every fucking thing you can buy from a store. I've bought it and taken it. Nothing. Here's my bearded lady. My bearded lady who may be retiring as the bearded lady for a new character next year because she did this asylum patient character with a phone, and oh my god, it was so fucking brilliant that Fred and I have we're thinking about shifting her. She was brilliant though. She was brilliant this weekend.
Awesome. Good job, but still, Cameron, you got the one on that's the freakiest thing for me out of the whole haunt is that thing because the Google I don't have that phobia exactly, but there are like certain things that kind of Crumpets, oddly enough, kind of freaked me out.
And he had a mask change because last year he had like just the normal mask that just had eyeballs everywhere. This time, if you really look at his mask, it's basically Galactus's helmet with eyeballs everywhere. So we jokingly and lovingly refer to him as Galactus sometimes. And the person that designed it didn't even know what Galactus was when they made it, so it was kind of funny.
You have bruises on your head from the phone. Did somebody?
Oh yeah, she was hitting herself on the head with the phone, trying to get people to answer phone calls. Like it was the whole thing.
Are you going to be a walking eyeball person? Because, like, okay, that episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force where Carl gets turned into like he's covered with eyeballs. Ow! 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 Ow!
It was a good episode, man. I love that one.
I can't do my Carl impression right now. Yeah, it's a good show.
I definitely identify as Meatwad.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'm kind of Frylock, but I'm kind of Meatwad. I'm like, I am nowhere near Master Shake though.
Yeah,
I can't hit that level.
He's special. He's very special.
But yeah, I have my Frylock moments and I have my mostly Meatwad moments because I'm kind of fucking moron when it comes to a lot of things. Okay, so since we're on this right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Favorite episode. Well, okay, a lot of favorite episodes, but one of my favorite episodes is when Meatwad wins the tickets to the Super Bowl, and he's like going with what's the name of the box that is his friend? It's like Foxy Brown or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, where are we going? I went to the Super Bowl and we went here and we did all this, and they're like all trying to get his tickets, and then he's like telling where how the Super Bowl was, and you know that he never got close to the Super Bowl, and those tickets totally went twice. But anyway, so Silence is Crimson too.
Mine was when Carl's house, the walls start bleeding, and Danzig buys his house. That was my favorite episode ever. Not even just because of Danzig, but I love Danzig, but just the whole fucking thing just I was in tears. But yes, Silence is Crimson too. Yeah. So,
well, Jenny, do you have before we head off? Do you have a favorite episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force? Everyone in the hood, yo. No,
I don't know what my favorite episode would be. That's the problem. I'm like, which one would be my favorite? I can't decide.
They were all good though. They were really all good.
I love when they have Meatwad pulling the cart, and it's like. Okay, so yes, Silence is Crimson too. Raz has put out this awesome book, and we are exceptionally familiar with it. Show everybody again. This is the cover, since we have some people joining. This is the point of view of the Mime, the Creature and Ryker as they come walking out to kill everyone in Riverside. Ha ha ha.
They do kill a lot of people, especially in this book. The kill count in this book was much higher than the previous book. Much higher.
Can we say that, or do we have to say the unaliving?
I don't know why I say kill count, because we're referencing a piece of technically it's pop culture because it's a book.
Okay, I just wasn't sure because all these people use like special terms for everything, and
they do, and I think sometimes it's necessary in certain contexts, and sometimes it's not. But I think in reference to like slasher films and slasher books and things like that, kill count that's the industry term, is kill count. So hopefully people are smart enough to, know what that means, and not think we're trying to unalive things or people, because we're not.
Yes,
all these people are imaginary.
Yes,
it's based on some real people.
Yes,
he killed me. I was eaten. It was scary.
Yeah.
As for the flood reference, if you want to find out about that, you're gonna have to go back to book 1.
Yep. Well, obviously, yeah. If you're gonna read book 2, you should read book 1 because then it will make a lot more sense for you. And this was released on my birthday, Halloween.
This was the first one.
So yeah, he just keeps coming out with stuff for my birthday.
Yep.
I'm good with it. I get it. But yeah. So this book is a really awesome horror story. There's a lot of background and some really good lore that has been built up in this. With everything that you write about Riverside, there's a lot of lore going on. Silence is Crimson is a little bit, I think, standalone from the rest of the short stories. It's not, you don't hear it mentioned, like references to it in the other stories.
Actually,
Not much.
there are 3 characters from short stories that make minute appearances in this one. So while you can read it standalone, by the time you get to book 3, you will notice like there's even more appearances and like characters from 3. There's some short stories about some of the characters you've seen in 1 and 2, like side characters that have been being written for a while. And some of them I was writing around the time, like I'm always demonetized. I just open my mouth and there it goes.
We don't
There's
even try.
just a lot of shorts that I've not released that I've and just different phases of being done that I've been writing all around these books. So you can read it as a complete standalone and not even worry about the little things. But by the time the 3rd one is over and some other projects finally make it out, probably by the time that's out, some of these other ones will be out too. You'll start to see kind of how much of it is connected.
So it is.
Definitely,
It will enrich it if you read. Well, I mean, I recommend the Riverside Chronicles as well. They're awesome. I guess I was seeing it from the opposite standpoint. You don't hear characters in those stories making references to the events that take place in the mine.
Yeah, there's actually only been one story I've ever written where it briefly, like really quick, like as an aside, mentioned something about a killer mime. It was one story. It was like one throwaway line. Yeah, that was it as far as that goes. Now the twins in the in this book, which they're new characters to this, are actually a part of a much larger project where they're featured much more heavily, and that's a book that I'm working on as my dissertation for my master's degree. So there's a whole thing involving just the twins and the people they normally hang out with. It's not Eddie and Leslie. I'm not saying they're not going to die in these books because the timelines, the way I write them, they're meant to happen all in different time periods. Because I jump back and forth a lot for fun, but eventually there will be like a suggested like reading order as I get more projects out. But for now, I'm kind of enjoying to let people like seeing things and kind of piece it together themselves.
We'll have a Venn diagram going, and then little like this, then this, then this, then go over here. It'll be like
before it's like over with. I will have a document in the Owlite network thing where you'll see everything. I'm like, I must be crazy, but this is like this. But he confirmed. I'm like about a character that I had been curious about in this book. So I'm like, okay, Ginny is not crazy. So yeah,
we'll have a map.
Oh yeah, I can tell you that everyone's favorite monster that I've ever written has an appearance in book 3, a very brief appearance, and that would be Mr. Jones actually has an appearance.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
And a mention of they'll be able to mention some other things, but like I've heard a lot about Mr. Jones. That's one of the ones that I hear the most often about wanting more Mr. Jones, and there is more Mr. Jones in the works, just in general. But
you just made me think of something that I think would be fun. Since we were talking about how he uses the underground systems and stuff, running into the toy store little stuff would be a very fun scene too, I think.
Oh yeah. Also a very strange arcade. Yeah, there's a lot of little things. There's a lot of little things in Riverside that are gonna, like I said, over time connect. There's even a really weird story that I put out that was part of a case file thing. The whole story reads like an actual case file. It was another collective I did with Right. And the one I did was about necromancy. In the story, I can't remember what I named the story, but it's actually out. So it was one of my free stories on my website before I took a lot of them down. But I haven't re-released it yet anywhere yet. The main character, I guess she seems like she's the bad guy, unless you really pay attention to the context of the story. She has a whole short story, like a traditional short story, just about her, and also is making an appearance in book 3. So there's a lot of these little side characters that actually have a lot more importance. You are going to find out that the character that grew up throughout the whole Mr. Jones story is actually still alive, and you will actually get to meet him as a solid character very soon in another project I'm working on. And it'll surprise people, I think, when it comes out, but it'll be pretty obvious, and it'll lead into the Mr. Jones kind of additional references I'm doing. But there's definitely a lot going on. There's a lot more I guess, webs between things and people that it seem apparent yet. It's just because I haven't finished writing so much of the additional content that fills in more gaps. But yeah, there's one more of these books planned. It's going to be 2 years from now, also on Halloween, will be the conclusion of the trilogy. Between now and then, you're going to get 2 more Riverside Chronicles books. There's going to be one called Riverside Chronicles Home Sweet Home. That is literally finally the collection about all the stories just from the house I grew up in that I've told more than I've written down over the years. And the third one, I'm not sure yet. I think it's going to be a lot about the businesses and the storefronts and the things around Riverside to kind of tie it and get it away from like just the homes. So there's one that's just going to be about just Pete's comic book shop that you see in Sounds of Crimson Homecoming. Like there's a story all about just about Pete in his comic shop. There's all these other little things that I'm doing again to kind of put it together. And something we talked about for fun, Patty and I over at Facor, was I want to do a book, like a compendium eventually on down the road. Like once I've released a lot more of the Riverside Chronicles, I finished this trilogy where it actually points out the direct correlations. Something you can read along with these books and stories to see where they connect to get like further background information. And I'm working on a map, an actual map of Riverside. Again, it's a real place. So a lot of the map is actually the Riverside map, but I've also borrowed a couple things that don't exist anymore that used to, that I still use. There's a couple things from some neighboring cities that just have always felt like part of home for me. So I kind of have stolen them and moved them in a little closer.
Little dimensional drift.
Yeah, a little dimensional drift. Oh yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Even Jimmy's Toys has a place in everything.
I want to see, the Encyclopedia Res. I guess it would be Riverside, not the Res Encyclopedia, but Restopia. Oh
There
no! Don't go into Restopia, man. You will never return.
I've actually thought about doing it, an anthology, not even like with other people, just myself, where I just pick different haunt characters that I know from my home haunt and other haunters. Because I've talked to Slippy about this a lot in the past, and I've talked to Matt, aka Props to Clown, and just a lot of non-clown, just a lot of different characters. And I was thinking about like maybe putting out a book about just different haunters characters that I know on down the line also, but make it take place in Riverside because it's me, of course. Mm-hmm. But that's something that I thought about. But doing that one just for charity, like maybe to benefit Haunters Against Hate or some other charitable haunt-based program, because it just sounds like a lot of fun.
So like haunt characters, but as if they were just the character was a real person.
And like most haunt characters have pretty rich backstories about their characters, and like most of the ones that I the long-term haunters that I know, even some of the newer haunters I know are really into backstory, and you don't see most of it obviously when they haunt, but it helps them get into the character and know their character. So it's kind of a fun little project, a little thing that I know we do in our haunt a lot. We talk about backstory and connect it everywhere. The little Freak Show has its own backstory now that the JB Rotten's gone. There's the new Freak Show leader, so they're developing new lore, and it's something a lot of hunters do to have more fun in the meantime, kind of in the background.
It is very intricate. It's like LARPing all day.
It basically
but
is
the same scene over and over, kind of. And then the next year you get to advance.
You do, because you get to change the sceneries a bit. You get to evolve how things look, how your characters look and act. So there's just a lot to it. That depends on the haunt. Not all haunts evolve their spaces as often as we do. Like every year we evolve so much. Like this year, the entire circus from Freak Show all the way to our finale everything was brand new. Nothing you'd seen before. It was all completely brand new. Next year, it's going to be the asylum and a bunch of other things. Like I'm not allowed to talk about. But like, there's just so much that goes into our transitions, and the fact that we get to get the actors involved to help build their scenes and have the input. Obviously, not all input is going to work in builds because some things are safety concerns alone. Let me just tell you, the shit they come up with is just it makes you twitch for like an hour, and you're like, okay, how would that work without someone getting killed? Let's maybe Tony Steve's now. But there's a lot to that, though, and us getting the chance to be so interactive with the actors and the builders and the makeup and the costumes and everything, it lets us tell different stories, and that's why when I do Beetlejuice, I'll run through it or I'll stay in the queue line, or we have our cinema night where we have cinema characters in the haunt. But other than that, all our characters are original. Every character we have in the haunt is all 100% original, and honestly, we rarely even have any like Hollywood stuff out in the queue line either. It's pretty rare. So we try and tell our own story, and a lot more hunts are going towards that these days. I think than the traditional, just the Hollywood monsters. There's nothing wrong either way, honestly. It's just fine either direction you go. There's value both ways, but it's just something that Fred wanted to do, and he's led us in a good direction with that. And I know I always end up talking about the haunt. I'm sorry, but we literally just ended it yesterday. Yesterday was our last night of the season, so it's all even more than usual in my brain.
No more bearded lady.
Now we'll have a bearded lady, just a different beard. She's actually the second bearded lady that's been in the haunt.
Oh.
It's kind of a title and a beard that gets passed, to different people at different times. But she's the one that actually brought it to life the longest and really helped make the freak show.
The passing of the beard.
Yeah, I mean, when I started the freak show officially, she was the first hire for me. Was to bring back a bearded lady and to grab Jessica. She was like my right hand man. Like she helped me reestablish everything. So it's been a fun project, man. And I was telling them today because they were sad because I'm not in there anymore and Jessica's going elsewhere next year. It was, the biggest honor you can get is to build something and know that it'll outlive you. That it'll just be there even if you're not. Like it's just there and it's going to keep growing and evolving. And in the haunt world, that's just an honor. That's fucking amazing. That's the coolest thing that could ever happen that you can do is to build a character or a scene or a section and just watch people take it and just constantly do new shit with it.
And so is writing a book that people are going to be reading forever.
Exactly.
Such as Silence is Crimson.
Homecoming. I write very differently when like my short stories are very differently written from my novels, my longer stories, because I do a lot of obviously first person when I'm doing my short stories. That's kind of, I guess, No Sleep kind of ruined me for other tenses when it comes to short stories, and that's just what I like now. It's my bread and butter. Well, novels, man, I do a lot of third person omniscient because that's what feels right to me. It feels like I'm the narrator, that I'm a real person, and this is very meta. And it's me just telling you guys stories of what happened in the town I grew up in and all these different things that I know about. Like, that's how I see it. Like, I'm the narrator of these novels. It's me. It's totally me. And that becomes more apparent in other projects that I'm doing that are like, longer projects. But it's kind of what I like about it. And I don't think a lot of authors sit down and go, well, I'm going to make myself a character and tell this story. And I don't think I realized that that's what I was doing until writing this book. That's when I realized I'm like, holy shit, I'm the narrator.
Yeah, you could see a whole lot of Raz in this. And speaking of short stories, he also has a new one out in Dark Dreams, Letting in the Night. Got You Where I Want You. So, yeah, there's that too that needs to be loved.
Which I'm calling the greatest short story I have ever written. And I truly feel, man, I thought I lost my spark there for a while. I was struggling, and then that story hit, and it gave me so much enough confidence back to finish writing this novel and get it out. And it was a big turning point for me in my writing career to just finally realize, like, hey, I'm not a shitty writer. I struggle. I have days where maybe what I write isn't as great as other days, but I'm a decent writer. I have a voice. I know what I'm doing more than I used to, and seeing the reception from this story, really, honestly, is, I don't know, it's helped me out a lot. It's gotten rid of a lot of my imposter syndrome has been kind of dying off again. And it'll come back. It always comes back, but it's been
one hell of a writer.
I appreciate that. But this was also again, first person, but it was also a style I had never really quite written in before.
Yeah,
and I know it's hard to say. Like it's really hard to explain exactly how that works.
Read it. It's good.
Yeah.
You want it.
It's a really good style of story.
Trust us.
It's a really great story about falling in love.
Yeah.
And
I'm not good with emotion, so that was like a big challenge for me to write, of all people, to actually write a love story where it seemed like the writer had an understanding of what was really happening. And I did to a degree, but I did this weird case study on this old school writer. His name was Damon Runyon. He was a famous journalist and short story writer. And the thing about him was his characterization. His repetition and his characterization was like, that was the thing about Runyon. Like that's what mattered about his work. And even if it was a story you didn't love, you would look at that characterization and say to yourself, like, this is a character. Like, this guy writes a fucking character, and it seems every bit as real as it can be. And I studied him for probably, it started in school like a year or two ago. I had like an assignment, and the whole section of that story where they're talking and like they're kind of falling in love in the first place with the questions and all that, that was part of another assignment for school where I had to take Runyon as an author and emulate his style and make it modern. And that was like, that's it. It was just that one tiny scene. That was it. I got like 100% on the project. And to come back to it and make it what it is now, but still with the original spirit of that assignment that I had done, I kept that going throughout the whole thing. And then I got to use the repetition that he uses with the song lyrics and with the last time they meet, using a lot of the same dialogue and the same actions, but kind of flipping it around on itself, but still use that as kind of a form of repetition. But I've never written anything like that. I'm not sure if I can write anything exactly like that again, but I don't know if I'd want to, because it was its own thing.
That was beautiful. I loved it.
It was really good. And like you were saying, the way the character grows and evolves is you learn so much just from their thoughts and actions. You know, everything coming from them and being like, oh wow, okay, oh you did, and just each learning point. It was a very non-traditional style of romance story, but the way that it turns out, I don't want to ruin it for people because they're like the parts that really make it kick are like, this is why you want to read it. I don't want to spoil it for you.
How he's aware of everything and how he falls in love and stays in love are the main points of why I tell you, please read it. And I've read it like 3 times, so if that says anything.
We just had me do a reading of it not that long ago.
Yeah, you can find a reading of it.
Yeah, Corpse Garden Chronicles are... No, that was on Unprinted Pages.
Yeah, it was Unprinted Pages. It was a special version of it. Yeah. Yep.
The Raz celebration of the short story and the book coming out interview.
Yep.
So yes, please go look on our YouTube and Friday with the Library in the Blue Box.
Yep. And I think you already shortened that down into a clip of just the reading too, because I noticed that pop up the other day.
That was the TikTok of...
Oh, yeah. TikTok.
I made a TikTok while you were reading to put up and try to catch people's attention.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely love that story a lot.
That's all I'll tell you.
42?
And he's a character I knew when I was writing that you'll also see again. I had done another short story which links to this story directly and even shares one of the locations. It was the Looking for Adventure that I did about the guy and the mimic car and all that stuff.
Yes.
You'll find that's in the same universe, which is in the city next to Riverside called Dayton, Ohio. That's my urban, I guess my urban fantasy writings that I've been fooling around with. But he's actually a main character in that series, just like Seth is. So I'm really excited.
Okay.
He was actually in the end of the Seth story. That character is in the very end. He's one of those named characters. I just didn't want to name him in this one until a little bit later.
Okay, awesome. Yes, go see the anthology Seeking Adventure. And it is on... There is a link on his page that you can find it on the Raz T Slasher Facebook page.
Yep. And I think that was Collect Calls from the Void, I think was the name of that story that I did. That had Seth in it.
And depending on where you're watching from right now, links are up above or down below, whichever way. I don't know if they might be over to the side on different ones. I don't know. I feel like I'm the scarecrow.
Yeah, just
links are, in the words of NJ Sullivan, links are where links go. Look there and you'll be able to find it.
Yes, that's good. That's really good. I like it.
Links are in the links. You know, we have a mascot in Lincoln. One of the high schools was so well thinking, and they were like, "What should we have?" The Lincoln Links. And so somebody thought we should do the missing link, but that didn't happen. So instead, their mascot is literally a couple of chain links. So they have this like giant sculpture of the chain in front of, like, just a couple of links of chain in front of the school. And I'm like, Really?
I think like a
You couldn't
lynx,
go
like
with
the animal.
yeah. That's our. But no, it's the LINKS.
We
So
were the Walter E. Stebbins Indians because that was really creative to be the Indians. Let me tell you, there wasn't a million Indians teams all over Ohio or anything. Not even in Cleveland, you know.
we were the Raiders, and I was a cheerleader, and I can tell you, oh boy,
See,
I can still do the school song.
I
And
played football when I was younger, but that was the Tomahawks because I was younger and it was the Tomahawks football team because it wasn't high school football, so it was all the Tomahawks.
Yeah, we were at least politically correct, I guess.
It was
Nothing
weird
wrong with Raiders.
because I was the only person with Native American heritage on the entire team. I was once asked, "Does this bother you?" I'm like, "No. Why would it?" And they're like, "Oh, well, because," and then they just dead stopped, and they just stared at me for a minute, and they realized that I had no idea what they were talking about or any understanding because of my neurodivergence on why something like that would even bother me, and they just kind of very awkwardly stopped the conversation, like, "Oh, okay, good job, you're great," and they just walked away. It was a very, very weird and odd thing. But I also don't get offended as a person anyway, so like it's even stranger to me that people get offended over things.
Yeah. Ours was just some guy with a George Washington hat and a musket standing around in blue and gold. So
it could have been
Ours
worse. It
like-
could have been the mascot for Greendale Community College, which is the human. It's just a person, but it's like a weird like human suit, and the way they designed it looks so ridiculously creepy that it'll give you nightmares. But that's a great show though. Community, I love that show. And that's where it comes from, and it's just terrible. But their whole logo is actually an anus on a flag, so that's a whole other thing.
I had to watch that.
It's hilarious. It's a great comedy. But yeah.
So back to the mime.
Yeah.
Or well, not the mime, but
that was the original
Silence
name.
is Crimson. Yeah.
The mime.
There's me in the movie.
So the storyline so far we have, and I'm not going to throw out too many spoilers, but there have been murders in Riverside, and a mime was involved, and suddenly he comes back, and bad things happen.
Yeah.
But the really cool thing, and this is something that I've found when I read Raz's novels, or at least these two,
it's
like it's like you're reading a horror movie, which is, I mean, often people you visualize when you're reading a horror story, so you have your own little movie playing in your head for some people, but this is like you find out what's going on in the minds of even the monster, and how in the hell did he get from there to there? You find out because you get to follow the monster as it goes and see how it functions and things, and it's very, very cool. Ooh, we have a visitor.
Oh yeah. Oh.
We did it again.
Okay, you go.
Same time, one person. It's Mariah.
Hi, Mariah.
Hello, guys.
Hey, stranger.
What's up?
What's up?
We are doing a review and a promotion of Riverside. No, not Riverside. Jeez.
It's why I stopped in.
Raz stuff.
Riverside Chronicles was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yes, well, we were just talking about
it. I'm gonna read it again.
Let me know how it is, because I haven't read that either.
But
5 stars.
Why?
Silence is Crimson too.
Yeah, it's actually why I stopped in. I was here for the first one. It just so happens that I drove all the way back from South Carolina to be here.
Yay! Awesome. Hope you had a good drive.
I had Bull Shooter this weekend, so.
How'd that go, by the way?
Interesting. Some things happened that I didn't expect to happen, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
I did not place to go to nationals. However, I did get noticed by one of the female pros on the circuit.
Ooh.
And she came up and talked to me, so
High five.
I feel a little bit better about it.
That's epic, dude. I'm proud of you. That's fucking cool.
My arm hurts though. I ain't gonna lie.
This is super cool though for me because Mariah was around when the movie was being discussed and all the initial conversations before the first book was ever even written. And she was the one that I would bounce like kill scenes off of. Like, is this possible? How can I make it possible? But also absolutely fucking absurd.
Oh my god, the scene in the sewer.
The first, yeah. Oh my god.
That's the one that stands out. Like, I remember us up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, no, you can't do this. You have to do it this way.
And I was like, okay, but I really want to do it this way. And yeah,
It
was fun.
That was a very long conversation.
That was a long one. I think I saw some of the notes from some of that I'd saved, like with all the notes that I've done with, yeah.
Yeah. And like at the time, because we were still talking about detail and gore, I remember you going, so if I were to do this to somebody, what exactly would that feel like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I would say between you and Cooper, my largest amounts of interviews for these books really were you and Coop, because there were times when me and Cooper were just on the phone or like you voice chatting for like, sometimes there was a couple 6-7 hour just on the phone sessions with me and Cooper, and I would just have notes everywhere, and that was from all like the police side of things.
yeah.
So all the investigations, every bit of how that's done, what cars they use, what weapons they use, how all of it operates, that's all 100% like legitimate information, because Cooper has both been, a rookie on a normal force. He's been a police chief. He's also been in the military, special forces. So he kind of like is all of that for me. So if I ever even remotely think I'm not sure about how something works, one like conversation with him, and I've got more details that I'm going to need for another 20 books. I'm still using notes from him from 10 years, about 7 years ago.
I'm going to tell you the thing that stands out to me, it really speaks to who you are as a writer. The amount of detail that you ask for when you're trying to get something.
Yeah.
That you're like, hey, what if? And you're like, but I don't know. Is this possible? Can you do this? If so, how?
Yeah, I'm known to irritate the fuck out of people sometimes with this. There are 3 different oh my god, I can't remember what their official titles were, but I found these 3 different guys in the field of genetics or whatever, that were all teachers at different colleges, and they were all like rivals. And this was when I was going to medical school, and I found them all online for this zombie project that I was working on, and I was contacting each of them individually, but also letting them know that I was talking to their rivals, because I wanted the best possible up-to-date information on genetics. And this thing back in the day when they first started doing the flu mist, which is like the live version of the flu, where it's like a live inhaler mist that you use instead of a traditional flu shot. And I was trying to get, information on genetic markers, and if something like that, because it's a live strain, could actually like over time like mutate, something in the genetic code. And I was trying to figure out how to create zombies from it, is what I was basically trying to do. And I drove these 3 men nuts. I mean, and it wasn't just that, it was the fact that they knew that I was talking to their competitors or whatever about the same thing. And they were asking, well, what did they say? And I'm like, well, I can't really tell you that, because that would like screw up the information that I'm getting if you know what they're saying, because then all you're going to do is argue their point, and you're not going to give me the full information. 2 of them ended up just completely not speaking to me ever again after a period of time. But the 3rd one, every now and then I'll get a very polite email asking me how that project's going and if I needed any information on anything else. He also, I did tell him he's the only one that still talks to me, though, so I guess he liked that.
That explains a lot of what you said to me when I was writing Contingency.
Yeah. I just like to have too much information, and I mean, it's a time drain.
Well, I still remember your reaction when you were like, so you can do, I was talking to this guy, and this is possible. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it that way.
Yeah, that's where I got that from, yeah.
What? What?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
You're good. I was going off on a tangent. It's fine.
Oh, that's what I was doing too. I just always forget that my brain doesn't remember that other people are still talking.
Oh, you're good. You're fine.
I'm just thinking, my mother is a nurse, and so I try to ask her, and she's just like, just shut up and Google it. I just stop asking. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to think about. Why do you even want to know this? I don't want to hear about it. I'm, okay.
I prefer to ask though, because like that's also how I get human interaction, but still work on my craft. Like I can kind of combine like, here's me actually being social, which I don't want to do, but it's about my work, which I like. So here we go.
Yeah, so I've reached out to Reddit before and asked somebody who like was writing a story, and they seem to have a large amount of knowledge, and so I was like, in a PM, is this your actual occupation? If so, I would like to ask you some questions about a story that I'm writing, and they were like, well, yeah, it actually is. And so what kind of questions do you have? And when they sent back, like there was like a definite couple day pause between when I sent something out. And I wasn't expecting the next, oh, let me just tell you everything in this exact minute. Because, they might have to look something up or,
right.
Let me know what.
Or make sure you're not a serial killer,
Yeah. Well, no, they refused to answer me and said that they thought that I was probably somebody who was trying to torture people on the dark web, and totally were like, you might not be, you might be a totally legit author, but please don't contact me again. And I'm pretty sure that they reported me for that. So, so then I asked my neurologist, and he's like, one of the questions like, how do you spiral cut a brain? He's like, oh, well, let me show you. And he went out and he's like, he got props, and he's like, okay, so this is how it would work. Okay, so here's the brain, here's how we go together, and you do this, and it would be like kind of butterflies because you have each lobe going, And so it was just like, nice. I found my source.
Well, it was really funny because I was writing Contingency. And the way that book even came about, let me tell you, was just fucked up.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Okay, so I am a fantasy author. We know this. And we were doing the podcast, and we had Mark Tufo on the podcast. Now, mind you, I love Mark. Mark is great.
He is great. I love Mark.
But we were talking about his books, the Zombie Fallout series. And we were in the middle of a conversation, and I literally, he's like, well, I did this and I did that. And I had read the books, and I was like, I love his sense of humor. I love just about everything about it except one thing. And that one thing was he kind of fell into the normal zombie trope, which was everything is fine, everything is dandy. It's the 4th of July, we're grilling, it's a normal day, and then you turn a corner and there's 10 million zombies.
Yeah.
And Mark was like, well, that's just, I was like, that's not how it would happen. And he goes, well, if you don't like it, you're a writer. Fix it.
I remember that. And she did.
And I was like, what? He goes, if you don't like it, fix it. He did this like 2 weeks before Halloween.
Yeah. Yep.
And Nano was coming up. And I was like, I've been challenged. Like anybody else would have just taken that as a joke.
Oh, yeah. And fun fact, I am in that. Not like me, like as a human being, as a person, am a character in that book.
Yes.
Awesome.
What's it called?
It's called Contingency.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually it's actually the first in a series. I just haven't gotten back to write the next one. But when he challenged me to fix it,
yeah,
I was like, okay. I wrote that book in a month.
In Nano. Yeah, for Nano. I remember that.
Like, I just went off on a tangent, and I decided I was going to go a step further because, like, everybody else does the, oh, there's a virus, oh, there's this, oh, there's, I was like, I have enough knowledge medically from being a paramedic. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, if I'm going to fix the whole fucking thing, here we go.
And I gotta say, like, when you were writing that, I wrote Campfire Tales, which is out of print and will never be ever seen again, except for by Jenny in the mail soon, or in the near future. We were the only two people that I know of, like out of our whole like friend group, and like extended groups we were part of that actually did nano and did it, and actually like completed nano that year. That was a rough year from everyone, like for everyone. But her and I were just like every 5 seconds, like, what's your word count? What's your word count? What's going on? Where you at? Where you at? Let's do
my
word split.
God. Yeah, because we were up at like 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning going, have you done your words?
Yeah.
Have you done your words?
And half of our mess, actually, there were days where our only messages to each other were just like a voice message or just a text. It was just words. Words are hard, and that would be it. That just words are hard.
Yeah, it's the 5th, and I haven't started yet.
I'm going to tell you.
I've only got about 1,800 words in on by day 5. I'm not.
When Raz has hit his limit, when you go, hey, how you doing today? And the only thing you get is, whoa. And it stops. It's like W-O, done.
Yeah, because I've realized, I'm so exhausted I can't even write the word words at that point. My brain it's finally died on itself.
And I was like, oh no. So I didn't contact him for 24 hours. And then I got back up with him. I'm like, is your brain okay?
And to go on the fact that, we all research way more than we write. The most stupidest fucking example I have ever done of this is in this fucking book. There is a part of the book where Gina realizes that John has just showed up at her fucking house unannounced in his truck because she's got all the trail cams and all this camera system all the way down her driveway and realizes he's coming. And it perfectly details the way she moves through her house. Like, it details what the house looks like, but does it in such a way as she's moving through the house. I was really happy with how organic it went. It's not Ani. That's Ani, aka Yanni, one of my best friends in the world who also works at the Haunt.
We share a brain, so
yeah.
I'm
it's this weaving organic thing that she's just going through the house and it's describing like the steps she's got to take up from this part into the kitchen. This whole thing. I spent 11 hours researching the history and multiple floor designs of craftsman houses. Just for that, like, 1 or 2 fucking paragraphs of the way she organically moves through that's it. It's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever done in my life for no reason, but God, did that come out well.
Wasn't that the one where you were like even looking at those DIY books with floor plans?
Yes, that was it.
I remember that. Oh my God.
I had like 10 different like versions of craftsman houses, like only slight variations, trying to figure out which fucking one Gina was going to live in. So and for this book, it had to be like just there.
This fool is pulling up house plans on the internet and going, hey, which one do you think is easier to walk through?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sitting here going,
what am I looking the medical history of the character, if they've got a limp or not, like just the whole fucking...
Like, it was insane.
It was stupid. It was fucking stupid. I'm going to call myself out. It was fucking stupid.
But I mean,
the dumbest thing I ever did for 2 paragraphs.
The end result, though.
I mean, I was happy with it, but I'm sure ultimately if they didn't walk perfectly through the house, that no one would have noticed either way.
But then again, you're the kind of person that even if they didn't walk perfectly through the house, it would have been entertaining if,
Yeah. I would have been irritated had I have read it and they didn't go through the house correctly. Like, it would have irritated me to not have that detail.
Yeah, but there's a beauty about the detail in something like that so that it makes it more realistic.
So
do you feel like you were actually in her head in that scene, like you were seeing it as she would see it as you move through the scene?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
So, this has been something that I've spent hours and hours and hours on for one scene. The Wood database, folks.
Nice.
If you would like to ever learn anything about wood, I highly suggest you go to the Wood database.
Fun fact, I borrowed that from you for that scene too. Because if you look at how it talks about the wood that was they used in making the house in that scene, I took some from that because you're the one that told me about that, and I had that and saved. So when I was looking through all the floor plans, I was like, "But what kind of wood would this be made of?"
Like,
I have a source for that, thanks to Dell.
Okay, so I'm
the helper.
I screwed up mine. Like, I see that book, and the only thing I'm thinking of is that stupid puppet from Full House. Like, so dumb.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, that's first place my mind jumps. Hello. Hi.
I'm missing Puppet Full House.
Yeah, there's Joey, I think.
Yeah. It's Beaver
was
Puppet.
He had the beaver
Oh,
puppet.
The big beaver puppet.
Is that made of wood? Like,
I used to know the name of that puppet too, and I can't. I'm about to look it up because it's gonna drive me nuts.
right? Like Raz will tell you, I always jump to the absurd before I jump to the real.
Oh, it's Mr. Woodchuck. It was a woodchuck.
Mr.
not a
Woodchuck,
beaver.
yeah.
okay.
Like,
And
I jump to the absurd before I jump to the real. It's like, oh, that was real. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like I just am the absurd. That's my problem.
hey,
Jeremy.
Jar Jar.
Good evening.
Yay.
Oh, I love the little picture. Oh, hail our mighty overlords. That's awesome.
Another fun, I think, but also super equally weird part of writing this is constantly getting back in contact with the people that I'm writing about, because these are mostly very real people. Like, Leslie is a real Leslie. Like, she's a real person from my childhood that I still talk to and meet up with once a year, who's been very much reading all of this and knows all the plans and everything. All these people are real people, and to some capacity. And of course, Jenny is my long-running friend. Jenny is Samantha. Cooper is 100% Romero. Like, but the most interesting thing was Eddie, which had that mentioned just like Leslie in the first one, but they've both become main characters in this one, and then potentially going forward, depending on who lives. Haha, fuck you all. I actually got back in contact with Eddie throughout the process of writing this book, and I have not had a conversation with him in almost 15 years. And out of the blue, he
cool.
just, no reason, didn't even know I'm writing the books, nothing, just fucking messaged me out of the blue. And I spent, I think, like 5 hours talking to him and found out that he's only like a 4 or 5 hour drive away now in Michigan. So we've been trying to find a time to like kind of meet up, and I owe him another book because I gave him an ebook of the first one. So now I got to send him the one of this one to make sure I'm doing it right, of course. And in the book, Eddie's daughter Lilith is actually my niece Lily. So like everything in here is me like just knowing all these different people, and like the big characters are all just built from people. There's a character that's only been discussed twice that is actually in part 3. Big Jim. He runs Big Jim's Burger Barn. You find out that he was the best friend of the mayor because they were on the council together. He's John Romero's father. There's all this information about him, but you never actually see him. That's my dad. That whole character is built on my dad. So like, there's all these things that are just so real to me. And of course, Riverside's real. These places, they may not exist now, but between tornadoes and businesses going out, for different reasons economically, but these are all very real people and real places to me. Like, this is a living thing to me, and it's part of my obvious neurodivergence that I would do this to myself. But I dredge up a lot of really shitty memories. Really good ones too, but really bad ones. And what I've learned is I'm not writing for any of you. I'm definitely not writing for any of you, for readers or for anyone. And that's something, again, I really hit home to me during this one. I mean, at least just for this trilogy anyway. I'm writing for therapeutic reasons, I guess. I've talked about it on my old blog. I've talked about it in interviews. But my brother took his own life quite some time ago now. It feels like yesterday, but it's been more than a decade now at this point. And the anniversary for that was just 2 days ago, actually, on the 3rd. So much of it's him. Like, so much of what I write is with Ryker. Ryker is him, and the creature is me. That's the only way I can explain it. The thought processes, the conversations that are had in this book are very reminiscent of exact conversations we had, of just him and I were role players. We were both writers. We were both creatives, and we would just come up with characters in public and play it out just to see how it went. Completely normal situations. Not even when we were RPing or LARPing, just randomly, hey, one day I was blind and he was deaf, and we were in a McDonald's, and we played it out like it was real, like it was a thing, and everybody bought it, and I think we were teenagers. And we would just go into public and assume different identities and accents sometimes, and just be different things and different people, and have loud conversations in public with absolutely no fucking care of who overheard it or how it turned out. So a lot of him and the creature is just, Riker and the creature is just me and Ryan. Like, Even as adults, before he passed, we still did this in our mid to late 20s. Like we still, we're assholes like this in public.
I've done that actually,
You're
where
muted,
my
Dell.
friend and I just played out a scene we were thinking about in public, and everybody was so confused. But everybody was like, "Okay, I don't want to get in that, but it looks so real."
Oh yeah, man, and it was because we loved movies so much. Honestly, a lot of it was movies. Like, we didn't play cops and robbers. We played Freddy vs. Jason like decades before that was a movie. We played Big Trouble in Little China. We played Police Academy. Like we
Princess Bride.
Yeah, we did that quite a bit too.
Like that's the one.
That was a game.
Yeah.
That was a game we had to play in theater when I was going to UNK. The whole theater crew. There were certain nights where we would go into an Amigos, and it was where somebody worked. And so, like, every time we'd get ready to go, there would be like at least 10 people, and everybody was assigned a role. And like, you drew from a hat or whatever, and you had to stay in character the whole time you were eating. And there were things like two of us sitting down, discovering that we were both sleeping with the same person who was sitting across from us at the table, and like food is getting, like, drinks are being thrown on each other, and it like just enough not to get kicked out, but because the person behind the counter knew what was going on, but to like making little scenes and stuff. And looking back, that particular part was maybe a little juvenile, but in general, it was a super fun exercise to practice. And it's like, I'm an adult and I still like to play pretend. So
I mean, I hunt. I've been hunting for 29
fun.
years because I still love playing pretend. Like, let's be honest, that's what it is. I remember when we first got into Vampire the Masquerade, the LARPing aspect of Vampire. When my dad would be out of town, we would turn his garage into a nightclub with a DJ booth. Like, we bought speakers out, like all this stuff, and we'd invite all like 20, 30 people in my dad's garage and my mom's yard and the giant plot next door that they didn't own yet, but we were allowed to do whatever we wanted in pretty much because we mowed it. We would just play these long-running vampire games, and sometimes we'd all want to go out to a teen club or out to the mall, and we would just keep the games going in public. Like, no one would realize that we were all just running around LARPing and playing characters at that point. It was ridiculous. Exactly, Ani. Ani knows what I'm talking about. Her and I talk about this quite often at the haunt, and not at the haunt too. We talk about it all the time. But like, it's just one of those things that's been such a part of my life my whole life, and it all started because him and I were really fucking bored one day, and we walked to McDonald's down the street, and again, he was deaf and I was blind, and that was the first thing we ever did like that, and we just never stopped doing it. So to believe that he's Ryker and I'm this creature, to me, that was just us. And of course, he also had schizophrenia, and there were times when one of the voices he heard was mine, actually my voice, and I would be nowhere near him, and he'd have whole conversations with me that he'd tell me about later. And the weird thing is that when he would do that, he would start to tell me his part and my part of the conversations, like to relive it for me, and I would just somehow know what they were and finish the sentence. And I wasn't present in his head, obviously, but like, it was this really weird link, and I do a lot of that with this. So, I mean, I know I've mentioned before that this is, my take on what schizophrenia is from his point of view based on conversations that he had with me about.
That is exactly what it is, though.
Yeah, it is.
My grandmother was
what
the same way. She'd have whole conversations with me, and I'd miss it, and I'd be at school, and then I'd get in trouble, and I'm like, Nanny, seriously, I was at school. I couldn't do that. You've got to give me time and tell me what we talked about.
Yep. So I wanted to take this illness and make it and write it in such a way that people would read it and not even realize that that's what it was until, they watch one of these interviews or whatever, and they see it, because once you know that that's what this is, you kind of have to read it twice. Like, you have to read it as what it's written as, and then read it in the complete opposite direction, like it's from the mental illness point of view. Because I mean, it is obviously a creature inhabiting a person. That is the point of the book. But it's that weird layer of like my own personal life and therapy and social commentary that I just wanted to put in there for people like me that are neurodivergent, for people that have family members that suffer from from that illness as well, to kind of put your life into perspective a little bit and to kind of get a better view on what this is like for people.
And it's beautifully done. The conversation, we're all coughing tonight.
I've been so sick, like I said, for almost 2 months now.
The conversations between when we were helping look over this, it's like there is the Mime, and the Mime is a combination of the Creature and Ryker.
Mhm.
And so when we refer to the Mime, it's both of them. But Ryker is an individual, and the Creature is a cosmic being that has possessed him. It's going through. So that's where I was saying it's like reading a horror novel and knowing how they get how it's like the stock. But he was up there. How did he get out of here?
Yeah.
What happened? And then all of a sudden it flashes into his head. And so you're like, oh, shit. Oh, that's how it happened. Okay. And that could happen because physics are different because of this. And, and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love reading that. And do you want to do the reading now?
Oh, yeah. I was kind of setting it up a little bit with the conversation, but I wasn't sure when you wanted me to do it.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. We were talking before the show and we wanted to have him do a reading, and we both decided that there was a specific conversation that Ryker and the Creature have together. So this is.
And also, you almost hit it all the way with pronouns, because it was they them when it was the Creature, because he's an amalgamation of everyone he's ever killed. Like the Creature itself is like it uses all their voices, so it was they them. Or it also it was no, we went with it with the Creature, unless he was talking, and then it was they them, and the combination of Ryker and the Creature was they them, and Ryker is he him. So there was like we wanted to. That was something that I really wanted to do that you helped me with, honestly, more than anyone. But it was based on a conversation I had with Jenny about how she felt like the importance of this for representation was. And just like I did LGBTQ with Samantha, as a character, which is a very strong one there, but it's very sincere. I didn't want to do representation for the sake of representation or in such a way that it would insult anyone or in such a way where it was cramming in people's face. I wanted to make it feel and seem so real and seamless because it's part of life and it's just there. It's just life. So that was a big challenge for me in this, but especially this particular chapter. This is chapter 14, which is towards sort of the end of the book. I used quotes in the first novel that were all based on quotes from books. This one was quotes from songs. Of course, the next book will be quotes from movies. But so yeah, chapter 14. We don't need no thought control. Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. Ryker was focused once again on the taste of flesh in his mouth. He had nothing to compare the flavor to, but it was definitely nothing like chicken. If anything, it was closer to pork. He'd had the misfortune in his childhood of consuming part of a raw pork chop, thanks to a foster mother whose cooking skills were less than stellar. He wondered if the flavor profiles would match up, more without the salty metallic flavor of the blood than it was drenched in. Ryker focused as hard as he could for a moment, attempting to test the parameters of the quickly growing changes between himself and the Creature. When he found he couldn't wrest control of the body to expel the quivering mass roiling down his throat, he sighed inwardly. Sensing this, the Creature swallowed and set down the frank chunks he'd been gripping in their hands. In all the time we've spent together, dormant or not, it occurs to me that I've never told you what I did for a living before coming to your world. The voices were matching tones more closely now, but the discordant result was still deeply unsettling. And I didn't think to ask. How rude of me, Ryker said sarcastically. He didn't know how to process moments like these, the moments when the Creature seemed to regard him as a friend or some strange equivalent. On one hand, he despised it for what it had done to him. On the other hand, Ryker was sure his mind would have completely shattered years ago without such banter. On the third hand, or technical as the case might be, he had nothing better to do. Was that sarcasm or passive aggression? I'm still adjusting to that, You humans and your strange customs. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Why do you have to make it so difficult? The voices were quickly becoming irritated, and it made Ryker flinch. For me, it's a defense mechanism. If I can't process a thought or a situation, I kind of shut down, I guess. After that, I guess I just go into autopilot and, I don't know, sarcasm takes over, Ryker attempted to explain. And you find all of this hard to process? It asked, with an unusually high level of curiosity. Well, yeah. Humans aren't meant to play host to dimensionally challenged parasitic psychopaths. Riker explained, doing his best to tamp down the sarcasm, but finding it difficult. That's a fair point. Your continued existence and hosting capabilities have far exceeded my expectations, the creature admitted. Employee of the month, here I come, Riker proclaimed with glee, the sarcasm practically oozing from him now. If you keep it up, you'll be employee of the century in no time. The voices matched Riker's energy and sarcasm perfectly. There was a deeper meaning to that statement. Riker didn't pick it up right away, but the preceding silence afterwards helped it sink in. They'd been together a little more than 30 years now. How much longer would he survive like this, if at all? Rather than writing that train of thought, he resparked the conversation. You were about to tell me what you used to do in your world. You know, before you came here and became a freeloading son of a bitch, Riker reminded him. Ah, yes, so I was. Are you truly interested, or are you merely placating me for your amusement? I can never truly tell with you, he continued. Why can't it be both? Honestly, I never considered that you came from an actually functioning society. I just imagined some dark world with things slithering around aimlessly looking for your next meal, Riker responded. Hardly. Despite our appearances, our society isn't much different from yours. We work jobs that benefit our species. We have our own currencies and luxuries, and we even have our own forms of entertainment, the voices explained. I'll just bet you have some zoo for humans and reality shows where contestants have to survive in other dimensions for a few months to win whatever your equivalent to $1 million is, Riker replied sarcastically. Our equivalent to your $1 million would be one fucktard, the creature exclaimed, struggling to adopt the affectation of a game show host. Riker lost it and nearly died laughing and wouldn't have minded if he did. The random things the creature said had always amused him, but for some reason, that one hit him harder than usual. It took him a moment to catch his breath and respond. I don't think that word means what you think it means, Riker tried to explain. It's the equivalent to your $1 million. What does it mean in your world? The voices sounded curious. Yeah, it's a word someone made up a long time ago to define an extraordinarily stupid fucking person. We also enjoy using the word fuck a lot and have a tendency to add it into things at random to amuse ourselves, Riker explained, while trying not to break out into laughter all over again, just like I'm doing now, by the way. A temporary silence fell between them as the creature considered this new and interesting information. The blood and viscera that covered them soaked into their skin with a strange sucking sound. Riker thought he might have shivered at the sound had he been able to. In reality, though, he'd grown so used to the everyday macabre nature of his existence that he likely wouldn't have physically responded to it at all. They print our currency on human flesh. Perhaps there's some kind of connection there. The voices eventually sounded off. Riker ignored the jab at his species, choosing to focus on the hilarity of the situation. He continued the conversation eagerly. So, let's circle around to the point of this conversation. You were going to tell me what you did for a living, Riker reminded again. Oh, yes. I worked in our prestigious entertainment industry. I am a revered celebrity throughout my district, the voices revealed. Well, how about that? I know a celebrity from another dimension. If our situation wasn't so unbelievably appalling, I'd be excited by that. What did you do exactly? Riker was curious now. He just couldn't imagine the creature entertaining anyone. Its jokes were always terrible and poorly timed. He had zero personality and probably ate anyone or anything that didn't applaud. It should excite you to know me, regardless of any situation. I've given your life meaning. In terms of my position, I was a magician of sorts, the voices simply stated. What kind of magician? Riker ignored another jab and focused on the new information. The concept thoroughly baffled him. He swore it had mentioned something about wanting to be a dancer just a year ago. The magician thing threw him off completely. The kind that makes things disappear and such. I believe your people call us illusionists, the voices explained. Were you good at it? Riker asked. He still couldn't wrap his mind around it, but didn't want to insult the creature further. He'd have plenty of time to do that later. At making things disappear, I was a master of my craft. Beings came from far and wide to witness The ingenuity and spectacle of the great, well, I'd have to cut off your ears and surgically re-engineer the way your brain processes sound in order for you to comprehend our home language. But be rest assured that the name is both clever and worthy of the utmost respect. The voices explained at length. The longer it spoke, the more cohesive they became. Riker nearly facepalmed when something important about all this occurred to him. Further information was required. How are you at making things reappear? It was one of those moments where Riker would have eyed him closely had they been two separate beings. I'm still working on that. The last thing I made disappear was myself, and, well, you've seen how that worked out so far. Perform during the apocalypse, they said. You'll be rewarded beyond measure and travel dimensional space, they said. Never trust an amorphous blob in a trench coat, no matter how fancy his watch and hat are. Lesson learned, I guess. The creature languished. Well, that's an odd sentiment. Aren't you technically also an amorphous blob? Riker questioned, hoping to get more information about the creature. The creature was in a talkative mood this evening, and he needed to take advantage of it. Details like this had never come up before in their many random conversations over the years. It was definitely one of those know thy enemy sort of situations. Technically, I'm an asymmetrical, shape-shifting invertebrate. There's a distinction between the two, the voices explained. You know, for some reason, I can clearly picture a human-sized jellyfish and a fancy top hat and a flowing black crushed velvet cape, Riker mentioned amusedly. More of a tentacle-laden star spawn, but you aren't far off the mark, the creature clarified. So, did you have an assistant? Riker's curiosity was amplified. All self-respecting magicians have assistants. Don't be a, what's the word? Fucktard, the voices said, with no shortage of amusement. It was like listening to a child use a dirty word for the first time. Fair enough. Tell me about her. Riker continued his line of questioning. Why do you automatically assume that my assistant was a female? It appeared annoyed by that. Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed that, Riker began. That's part of what's wrong with your species, you realize. You all suffer from a gross over-reliance on labels and basic descriptors. Beings are far more than skin colors and pronouns. In fact, outside of concepts like attraction and procreation, those are the least important details. The voices soapboxed. Yeah, I get the feeling that you've put a lot of thought into that speech, Riker reasoned. I've been in your world for a little over a century at this point, with not much to do. I've had a long time to study your species and evaluate its flaws in depth, the voices explained. In all honesty, based on your biological composition, I would have guessed you were gender fluid, Riker said sheepishly. Are you making a joke? If so, I find it ill-timed and incomprehensible, the creature intoned. Well, we can't all possess your level of comedic genius, Riker grumbled. Are you saying that you find me amusing? The voices questioned. Sometimes, Riker admitted. I'll take that as a compliment, despite your devious nature. In the future, I would advise you to keep your gender fluids to yourself, the creature warned. Deadpan. Touché. So, tell me more about your assistant, Riker pressed. Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl, the voices began, sorry, I screwed up there. The voices began before being unceremoniously laughed at by Riker. The creature considered eating him, but drew the line at auto-cannibalism. Let me guess. She had yellow feathers in her hair, and a dress cut down to there, Riker said while absently moving their hand to indicate their upper thighs. How the fuck did you do that? The creature asked in alarm. How did I do what? Riker responded, completely dumbfounded. Riker hadn't noticed the hand moving at all. He had stopped focusing on trying to move any part of their body, which meant it was purely coincidental. You just moved your hand, our hand. How the fuck did you do it? The voices demanded an answer, clearly enunciating each word to display the creature's sudden level of annoyance. I have no idea, but that's an interesting sign, don't you think? Riker answered the question with a question. The kind of thing always infuriated Creature, and it felt like the perfect time to push buttons again. You shouldn't be capable of doing that. the creature said flatly. And yet, I did, Riker added. Their body shifted quickly and propelled itself down a side tunnel. They were moving faster than they'd ever moved before. You changed somehow in our time apart. Clearly, I've underestimated the situation. Let's see if we can rectify that. The voices all but screamed in Riker's mind. How do you intend to rectify it? Riker asked, not sure he really wanted to know the answer. By any means necessary. I think in this case, shock and awe ought to do nicely, the creature revealed. What does that even mean? Riker was concerned by that. It means you've gotten cocky, and I need to remind you of your place in this relationship. The voices explained, a mix of fear and anger clear within their haunting tones. They're moving so quickly now that Riker couldn't even tell where they were going. It was all just a blur at that point. He was so turned around that he completely missed the painted words on the wall. As they entered a new tunnel that might have prepared him for the events to come, it read, Maintenance Tunnel for Walter E. Stebbins High School. And that's it.
I love that so much.
As I mentioned earlier, that's the high school I went to. That's actually in Riverside. Jennings actually found really awesome pictures of my old high school that she's used for promotion.
Yes. Look on his page. You'll be able to find them all.
Yeah. I love how they have the back and forth going on. The fucktard thing is hysterical. And then all of a sudden, just the, oh my God, how did you move? Like, it just transitioning into that, because there's stuff throughout the book, folks, with how that different stuff is changing and the dynamic of their relationship as a unified being is being contested. So
one of the things that irritates me as a reader is dialogue. Most people just use dialogue to move things forward, plot lines. And I obviously did that in this chapter, but people don't often get the fluidity of conversations correct. Like when we're all talking, we're swirling out. We're having side conversations. We're talking about one thing until all of a sudden something happens. Just like in this scene where that happening was the hand move. And any conversation that was going on, anything that was happening before was just gone, and suddenly now the plot's moving. Just like they're moving. So I wanted them to move like the plot was moving, but the conversation was just really important to be a real conversation between two fucked up individuals.
And it works so well.
I don't even remember why I chose the fucktard thing or like some of that stuff. I was just writing. I was just sitting there writing. And again, like I said earlier, it just reminded me of conversations me and my brother would have. I was just writing his part of it too, is all I was really doing. And a lot of the interactions between them write themselves. Like I put not a lot of mental thought. The only mental thought I put into that was, the pronouns part and the whole speech that the creature gives. Because that's actually a speech that I've used in real life. Like that's kind of my stance on a lot of things. So that part just kind of came out naturally, but all their dialogue and a lot of the dialogue in these books just comes from knowing these characters as people, as real people, but also the fictional elements that I've added to them. And 20, 30 page character sheets that I have a bad tendency to do to characters. So I know them so well that I can just write it. So I don't focus a lot on the concepts of what I'm doing. I just do it. And then I look at it later and I go, oh, well, and that'll spawn a new idea for another chapter or to continue the conversation in another one. But I always just start with that, just writing it.
When you have the smaller group that's playing D&D or something similar and watching movies and stuff together, that's all very natural, flowing conversational stuff. It reminds me exactly of what happens when I play games with people, because you're just you didn't just, but I had to. No, you didn't. And it's like, everybody back and forth and the way it all works.
You guys all know that I'm not an out of order writer. I write in order of every chapter. I write notes about things, but I actually do the full writing of each chapter in order. That was the first scene in my life, like when trying to write a longer thing, that I ever wrote out of order. I actually wrote that entire D&D thing first before I did anything else. It was that, and then the Game of Spotlight tag, which ended up being chapter 1 instead of the prologue like it was supposed to be, because that all changed and a lot of things changed. But it just that aspect of role playing, there's no reason. If you think about it, there's no reason for it to be in that book. There really isn't, except for I was able to use it to explain very quickly a lot about the personalities of all the characters involved. So I thought, rather than doing a bunch of exposition and like 15 chapters just based on creating these characters and getting you to understand them, the quickest way that I could show you all their personalities was literally by playing a game. So that was, I don't even know if it worked well or not, but in my head it totally made sense, and that's kind of how I did it to save time and character development.
It made sense because it led well into, like, in the most of the, like, Law and Order or whatever, you have that scene of what everybody else is doing that preludes into the investigation. It felt like you were doing something like that. You had the scene of the kids, and then it goes straight into the other side of it.
Right. It was weird because like the twins are both very similar to each other, Jason and Michael, obviously. They're both the comedy relief, like straight up. They are the comedy, other than the Creature. Really, I mean, it's not Ryker. It's the Creature is the weird comedy relief in a lot of sections. But for this book and maybe the next one if they live, it's the twins. But one of them is a lot more brash and tends to run into things a lot quicker, and that's one of the big differences in their personality. And I got to show that right off the bat in that D&D game, or again the D&D-esque game. Mm-hmm. It's actually a role-playing module that, or a role-playing game that I'm secretly working on in the background. That's a prequel to this trilogy called Send Sam. If you if you spell the word madness backwards and just change the sizing on some of the letters, it actually says Send S-E-N-D, Sam S-A-M. And I discovered this years ago. So like this whole Send Sam thing has been this thing I'm working on, because Sam's been a character that I've had in the background in little stories and things for years. So that's something that's going to happen eventually. I want it to happen eventually. And that particular gaming store is probably the first store I'll ever sell the game in, because that's an actual Bell Book and Comic is a real comic book shop in Dayton, and Pete's a real human being who just now found out that he's in a book just a couple weeks ago. I ran into him in town.
Nice. I'm excited for the game. I want to play.
When I get a chance to do it, there's a lot going on, but I'm definitely going to be spending a lot of time on that here soon. Now that I'm kind of slowing down from the big projects and giving myself a little bit more attainable goals with some breathing room.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll be sitting here like going, hey, look what Raz did.
I do that a lot. I'm over here trying to write something, and I'm like, Raz did it better. Go look at his while I pretend like I know what I'm doing over here.
I do that to myself when I'm writing something, like, what did I do with this? How did I do that? And then I don't remember how I did it, so I spend like 5 hours staring at a blank screen, and I'm like, I need to figure out how to be that version of me again. And as soon as I do, then I'll go back to that project. So I've got like 10 projects in different states of creation based on what mindset I have when I wake up that day. It's kind of a pain in the ass to not finish a story in a certain mindset and just leave it sit there.
Yeah. I get that. Mine just sit there though. And then new ones get started, and then they sit there too. And then another new one gets started, and it sits there too.
When I'm in between stories or I don't know what I want to write, I go back and look at all the files that I've got opening. And I've actually managed to close most of them. I think now I've only got 2 or 3. I'm down to only 2 or 3 for the first time in my life rather than dozens. And I've got plans for all of them for Nano now, like all these stories to finally kind of actually finish. So I've been trying to go through and bounce. And that's what happened with Got You Where I Want You. That was like I said, that little assignment. I already knew that I wanted to do something more with that. And that sat there forever until I started looking at it. And then it became a serial killer story. And then from there it became, what it became.
That's beautiful. And I'm just using the newsletter to figure out where I'm going with mine.
I noticed the other night that one of the submissions that I was thinking about working on, that I'm like putting together the story in my head, and I'm like, okay, I got that. Holy shit. I think that I stole a little bit from Curtis M. Lawson and a little bit from Steve Van Sampson, a little bit from this and this and this, and like all these different things I've been reading. I'm like, no, I didn't. Okay, this is my own. They just have similarities in them because of certain things, but it's not being done the way they are. So, okay, I got it. It is me. I just probably was thinking about this particular subject because that was in my head, Right. So, but that's something I always worry about is like, because I read so much too, like, did I grab something? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah,
So
it's a pain in the ass. It could be a huge pain in the ass. But I do have people in my life sometimes that will ask me questions and get me thinking. Like you three actually, and this very call are three of the people in my life that will just ask me random questions or get me thinking about things. And of course, all my haunters. I got Cameron, Jess, and Ani in here right now. They are three people that also very much when I'm around them at the haunt, and even Ani, because she visits outside the haunt too. So like every time she comes over, I've got to tell Ani a story. She always wants to hear a story, and her brother Carter always wants to hear a story. So I try and always. I think they've heard like 10 different versions of Goat Man and like all kinds of other different stories. Everybody has favorites that they want me to tell them, so I get to do that a lot. And I don't know. Y'all keep me on my toes. Y'all keep me creative and thinking about things, which is very nice for me.
well, you're a great storyteller too, so
Thank you.
it's always fun to give you prompts or read things and
I like
check
making
out
shit
little
up.
ideas.
I love your brain. I've
can have
enjoyed diving in the parts I
No,
give
don't give her
you.
brain away. I need it
I don't-
sometimes
I mean,
too.
she can have my time because I'm clearly never actually using it. I don't think. I think you just store it in my head like when you need a break, and I'm not actually using it at all ever. It just
Okay.
Which really makes me wonder, when you are using it, is it functioning when you talk to me? Like,
I don't think it's functioning when I speak to any human being. Like if I'm being completely honest with you,
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm a
So
figment of all your imagination. That's the reality.
for everybody watching, tonight, if you see the little ticker across the bottom, we're doing something slightly different. Make sure you get a comment in, ask Raz a question, say
Yeah.
hello if you haven't already, because we're collecting all the names on a giveaway tool.
Mhm.
And everybody who's here tonight is going to be receiving a PDF or an e-copy of the book, but we will be spinning the wheel of merch tonight. And instead of technically merch, it is going to be a chance to be a character in one of his upcoming stories.
Yeah.
And we have, let me see here real quick. We have 3 different intros we can use. So we'll spin and you will have 3 different characters that are going to be coming out. So
Sweet.
make sure you get your comment in and you can be a character of Raz. So
I mean, see, Jess, you've not really like read a lot of my stuff yet, and you haven't been around for some of these conversations. But it's actually the people that I kill that I actually spend a lot more time on their characters a lot of the time. Like I'm the opposite author where I tend to kill the people I like more, and long term torture the people I don't like as much.
it's always an honor to be killed by someone, well, I think.
What's really great is, yes, Raz appears as himself in contingency. What Raz is not telling you is he also appears in the fantasy series from one of his RP characters.
Yes, that is true.
So while he likes killing people to make them the people he likes, mine is a lot more nefarious. I have plans for his character in my fantasy novels, and he knows it. Like, I'm not nice, and he's letting me do this. By the way, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
So it's Raz is responsible for a lot in my writing as well.
Do you know how many different versions of myself I torture in my story? Every character that's named Aaron or Jesse or Josiah, and there's a couple other names on the list, I forget what they are now, are all me. In just different ways I'm finding to throw myself based on things that happened to me in my childhood or just whatever stories I remember growing up. But just absolutely like just dead out torturing myself in stories. I torture myself the most.
At
So I think
least
that's
I'm
what I do in
not.
real life.
At least I'm not as mean as you.
No,
I'm
I'm
not.
terrible. I'm a terrible human being.
I just killed Stefan because right
He's got a
before I
death
got
coming up.
yeah, right before there's a club on he's been killed like almost 50 times now, I think. But Stefan Lear, owner of Fractured Mind Publishing, has a group dedicated to people who kill him, and most of them kill him straight out with his name, but I've started doing anagrams of his name and killing him that way. So
I feel like I know him well enough now officially to like actually finally join the club and kill him. So that's gonna happen during Nano. I'm gonna officially join the club.
Just don't make me die drunk, naked, and alone in the woods.
See, now you're going to die drunk, naked, and alone in the woods just because you told me not to, and I'm an asshole. So, but I love you, so it's a whole process.
It'll be a very well crafted.
Oh yeah,
drunk, naked,
It'll
alone in the woods death.
It'll be brilliant.
All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half in. Let's do the spin thing and see who is going to be.
Which one am I
thrown
starting
in.
with?
We'll start from the top and go down. We'll do.
Alrighty.
Crypt Keeper, then Epic, then Marvin. Okay, let me figure out how to do this again. Ta-da! Okay.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun.
Hello, kiddos. It's time to spin the wheel of merch.
I love it.
Remember, this time, there's no cheating.
You do get to die naked, alone, and in the woods.
Hello, kiddos.
Yeah. Oh,
It's time.
Sorry.
it's on loop. That's okay.
I don't know how I
Yes.
did that.
It was on loop. I turned it off.
All right, so I get to kill Jess, or make a character after you. Not necessarily gonna die. I think I'm going to do that to you now, though, for real. But we'll see.
Okay. Ready for? We'll do 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, but what your personality proudly brings to you
Oh, Tom.
No cheating.
I love
Tom
that.
Dog, you're gonna be a character too now, buddy.
All right, and time for the last one. I'm going to let you hit play and then I'll hit it.
Get ready, pathetic humans. It is time to spin the wheel of merch.
Love you, Jeremy.
If you cheat, I will destroy your world with my giant laser beam.
Yanni. All right,
All
Ani, your
right.
time has come. I was probably always going to do a character on Ani eventually, but now I just have to do it for sure. So, Ani, Jess, and Tom Dog. All right.
All right, so you guys are going to be story characters.
Yeah, that's true.
Yay! Ani Wilson dies with me.
I probably will put you guys in the same story together too, just because that would be epic.
All right, so we've got that taken care of. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the book?
I never honestly know
Where
what
all
to
we
say.
can go?
I don't even like to spend an hour and a half talking about myself, to be completely honest with you. So I have no
Well-
idea what I would even say that I haven't said, to be honest.
Okay, so you have that. The Fake Horror book is coming out as well.
Yeah, anthology.
It
Yeah.
it came out on the
Anthology.
27th,
Okay.
4 days before the
And-
book came out. Yeah.
so both are already out.
And
I guess I could talk about next year what the plan is. Because like I said, I'm taking a year off. I'm doing another 2-year gap, like I did between the first one and the second book. So the trilogy will wrap up in 2 years from this recent Halloween. So it'll be another Halloween release. Originally, I talked a lot about doing Lincoln and his friends meet Krampus, or like Saves Christmas or something like that. I pushed that back. Haunt season was a lot this year. Like there's a lot more involved than we expected for a lot of good reasons. I do want to let y'all know that we are staying open. We got guaranteed for a 5th season next year, so that took a lot of stress off us.
nice.
And we survived, and I cannot honestly. I'm sure I'll talk about it in the next padded cell we do. To be honest with you, I'll save all that information for then. I won't do it now, but it was it was a really tough year for me for a lot of reasons. So I got Riverside Chronicles in this year. I got Silence is Crimson 2 with a lot planned for the finale. I know that entire book and how it's going to end. It's actually going to take me a lot less to write that book than the other two. A lot less time and effort. But yes, I'll have the break from that. I am finally focused on my first novella. You guys might remember and are still hearing pieces of in the new Owlite Radio show that's been going on. You've also been hearing the old Hunter's Handbook. I am pleased to announce that next year I am releasing, yay, Ani! I am releasing my first novella, and it's going to be the Hunter's Handbook series. So it's going to be a collection of the first 8 to 10 stories, and I'm actually already in the process of writing the next one, so I can grab all you assholes in here with me and people that haven't appeared yet to do all the voices for that.
All right.
And I thought it would be a fun novella. I've never done a novella, never really thought about it until now. So that's a guarantee next year. We'll get another Riverside Chronicles next year, and I will definitely be doing the next Lincoln book then for next year. So that's the kids' book, a short story collection, and a novella. And if I have two things I'd like to do if there's time next year, because I'm not trying to kill myself right now. But what I'd like to do, I'm a big fan of like obviously scary stories to tell from to tell in the dark, like that kind of stuff. But I also like Goosebumps and things of that nature. And a very close friend of mine, Jessica Sellers Carver, in Nebraska, is a teacher, and she's used some of my stories to help teach her kids creative writing in English. And they've kind of challenged me a year or so ago to do a middle grade horror, short or story or series of some kind. So I'm kind of thinking about doing that for Riverside, doing like an offshoot or like a younger crowd for Riverside, sort of, I guess, a little bit more than Goosebumps, a little bit more like Fear Street was. So something where the stories are individual, but they're also kind of connected, but like a younger version than what I normally do. And I really want to challenge myself to do that. I've already done the Earl Stein masterclass like 5 times. I'm about to do it again after Nano over the winter just to get prepped. But I'm trying to tackle all age groups. I did the kids' picture books. I do adult. I do things that I honestly, some of my stories I think are actually young adult, to be honest with you. But this will be middle grade, and that'll kind of complete my horror of all ages. So that's something that I'm really excited about. And the last thing, if I have time, is more about Seth Ridlock, the Bard, and the urban fantasy stuff. And that's aside from short stories, because I'm trying to get more into podcasts again for next year, because I'm taking a break from that. And some of that stuff I already have written, so just kind of shopping things around. And then I'll be doing at least 2 anthologies with Fake Horror, already guaranteed for next year. One of the stories is almost done, and I started on another one. So it seems like a lot, but it really is a lot less that I have planned. Hey, what's up, man? But yeah, it's a lot less than I normally put on my plate, just to kind of know that I'm going to challenge myself too much, and then I get angry with myself if I don't release everything I promise you guys I'm going to put out. So this is my next 2-year goal. All of those projects, and then the 2-year mark, Sounds as Crimson 3, which the title of that is Ryker's Revenge, which will make a lot of sense as that story develops and you guys get to see it. So that's everything for the next 2 years that I'm doing, and I'm not adding anything else beyond that unless I have time. So we'll see.
All right. And where do you want everybody to look for you?
Your mom's house. Just mom's house.
Excuse me.
That's to everyone, like in general, because I'm multidimensional.
That's why I keep asking him if he likes laying on the grass.
Hey, I got a shovel. We'll travel. We'll travel. And I got a crowbar for the urns too. I mean, I got a multi-tool. I'm good. Anywhere you need me to be or anywhere I want to be, I'll be there. But no, RastySlasher.com, which is still being updated again, and I'm about to do another huge update and finally get the newsletter on there that Jenny has been bugging me about forever because it's a really good idea. So there'll be a lot of new content on that going forward, and just a lot of new fun things. And of course, here
we have to do websites now. What the fuck?
Yeah, I've been doing a website for a couple of years now. I just sometimes go months without updating it because of Haunt and stuff. I just don't update anything. I update the Haunt website, of course, but I forget that mine exists.
Yeah, I still don't have a website.
Yeah. And then all the lovely social medias that I don't even know exist that you can just type Rasty Slasher into that Jenny, the lovely Jenny, has created for me and helps me take care of and run all the time. Chances are, if you think you're talking to me, you're probably talking to Jenny. Very, very real chance that you're talking to Jenny.
I swear
But if you're one of the But if you're actually one of the people he does know, I will let him know you asked something.
Yeah.
And refer you to him after I get done pretending to be him.
Yeah. Because sometimes I think it's funny to make her pretend to be me and just say random things that I don't know about. So then when people actually do contact me, I just play along like it was me. It's fun. It's just fun. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, man. And Hell's Dungeon next season, actually this Christmas. Come on down to Dayton, Ohio, and see Hell's Dungeon, the Christmas special, on December 15th and 16th, where I will be once again reprising my role as J.A. Sock. It's all the kids are asking about it, and I got to do it, at least one time, at least one of the nights. And then again, of course, for Valentine's Day. I don't know, one Saturday that's close to Valentine's Day. I don't even know the date for that yet. But I'm sure we'll have fun commercials to play for those events coming up soon on the network as well. But this also tonight marks my full return back to the network now that I can breathe and do things and hang out. So all these things I keep promising y'all are finally gonna start fucking happening.
We are very excited to have you back. Full time.
I missed you guys.
I missed you too.
We love
Mariah,
you.
where can we find you at?
Well,
Where would you prefer us to find you at?
Typically you can find me on Facebook under the name Mariah Lind. I do have a Twitter that I occasionally put smart ass comments on.
She really does.
You have got to go to her TikTok and listen to her sing. Please do that.
Yeah.
And I'll be adding your info to the links as well.
And other than that, I don't really have a website or anything. My books are on Amazon under the same name. It's pretty much it.
Okay. I'm going to say you can find me at this host's body, Carrie, Kari Sanders. On Facebook, you see a crow. That's me. All of my links are there. And with the exception of that page, everything that you see will be handled by Jenny. So we're going to hand everything over to Friday real quick to wrap up because she's the one who has the most that she is taking care of.
You can also find Dell at Dell's mom's house.
You can.
Sometimes.
With Peanut sometimes. Yes.
Damn it.
Okay, I'm at Friday with the Library and the Blue Box is my page. My group is Friday Blues Disorganized Library. You can find me on his stuff, you can find me on her stuff, and you can find me on Fakor. Please read more and enjoy all their beautiful stories.
All right.
Rock on, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. And for those of you catching up and watching, you missed out on getting a chance to be in a story, but for next time. And we will get in touch with everybody after the show to make sure we have everybody's contact information so that we can get your stuff out for you. All right.
And also, don't forget to spam it to your friends. And also, say hello to your mom for me.
All right. And on that note, good night, everybody.